Nwachukwu, and these are the top stories. Government efforts failing as food imports rise, 122% deficit hits 4.9 trillion naira. President Tinubu to hold FEC meeting today. President Tinubu discloses debt servicing unsustainable. Activists knock Atiku over Chicago Varsity subpoena. Details now. The World News at 12 begins from the business front, where despite continuous government efforts to shore up food production in Nigeria through various intervention programs, the country recorded food trade deficit worth 4.92 trillion naira between 2018 and 2022. Available data show that Nigeria is not growing enough food for the populace, leaving the country with no option but to import. Consequently, to feed its steadily rising population, the country recorded a 121.7% increase in the value of imported foods within the 5-year period, rising to 1.9 trillion naira in 2022 from 857 billion naira in 2018. The development may not be unconnected with the heightening of insecurity in the country, especially around the agricultural belt, which has forced many farmers to abandon their farmlands, thus prompting the government to spend millions of dollars importing food annually. Data obtained from the National Bureau of Statistics and the Central Bank of Nigeria reveal that the total agricultural imports into Nigeria from 2018 to 2022 amounted to 6.916 trillion naira, while total agricultural exports from the country within the period was 1.997 trillion naira, resulting in an agricultural trade deficit of 4.919 trillion naira. The data also show that there have been steady increases in agricultural imports into the country since 2018, which recorded 857 billion naira imports and rose to 959 billion naira in 2019, 1.2 trillion naira in 2020, 2 trillion naira in 2021, before a moderate decline to 1.9 trillion naira in 2022. However, within the same period, agricultural exports from the country amounted to 302 billion naira in 2018, 270 billion naira in 2019, 322 billion naira in 2020, and 505 billion naira in 2021. Meanwhile, President Tinubu has described as unsustainable servicing the nation's debt with 90% of its revenue. It will be reversed, he declared. The president promised to depart from what he described as a destructive path. Tinubu, who also noted that erratic power supply constituted a major hindrance to the growth of the economy, urged Nigerians to have a positive attitude while his government intensifies efforts to reposition the country. He spoke yesterday at the kickoff of the 63rd Nigerian Bar Association Annual Conference. It was at the velodrome of the Moshood Abiola National Stadium in Abuja. The event was witnessed by governors, ministers, lawmakers, business leaders, the diplomatic corps, and traditional rulers. Let's take a listen to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Critical path analysis of Nigeria economic recovery was mentioned by you, but as I accept the roadmap enunciated here and expecting what will come out of the great topic of tonight and the following week. The challenge is all for us to pull together united Nigeria, committed to national greatness, unless we do it by ourselves. Unless we employ change of mindset, we cannot achieve the desired progress. I'm not being cynical. I'm being factual. The hope is here. The critical changes and bold endeavors will be embarked on by this nation, depending on the cooperation and the collaboration of all of you in the private. Yes, it is a shame not to have electricity for the majority of homes in Nigeria. Yes, poverty is not a shameful thing, but not acceptable. We must banish it. To you all, rigorously thinking of investing in Nigeria must be a dream. But let's interrogate, how did we get here? With over 90% of our revenue is a path to destruction. We cannot continue that.
And that was President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the NBA conference saying that the country can no longer to service external debt. Now, reiterating what the president said at the NBA yesterday is the president's spokesperson, Ajurin Ngelale, who reiterated that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not afraid to disperse anybody who does not contribute significantly to the economy of the country. This statement was made amidst controversy concerning the validity and authentication of the president's certificate at one of the universities he attended outside the country. However, let's take a listen to Ajurin Ngelale.
Take you by the hand and walk you through it. He did it in Lagos. He's doing it again at the federal level. Let's be clear about what's going on in the country. We are acutely aware of the fact that people are facing rising energy costs, rising food prices, stagnating wages. Wages have not gone up yet, even though we are in the process of working on that. And we know that there's extensive hardship all across this country. Everybody agrees on that point. What the president is refusing to do is to promise what he cannot deliver. People are facing rising energy costs, rising food prices, stagnating wages. Wages have not gone up yet, even though we are in the process of working on that. And we know that there's extensive hardship all across this country. Everybody agrees on that point. What the president is refusing to do is to promise what he cannot deliver. He's not going to say that Nigerians will wake up tomorrow and all will be uhuru. He's telling Nigerians exactly where we are and what he's doing to ensure that we get to the other side of this, and that when we get to the other side of it, it will be permanent. I liken His Excellency Mr. President to a surgeon who is saying that we can no longer simply put a bandage over our wounds. We actually have to go in, take the bullet out, so to speak, and that process can be painful, but the healing is permanent. And when we get to the other side of it, Nigerians would now know in retrospect that having gone through the short-term challenges associated with these very, very key and necessary economic reforms, that it was obviously the right thing to do, and that's where we are. So what's someone who will walk officials by the hand to ensure that he gets the result that he seeks. Ultimately, he understands that the performance of every minister, every CEO of every agency, all the government officials within the federal administration, that their performance is going to tie to his name and tie to his legacy. So he is not someone who would say, yes, I've appointed you, just go and do whatever you think is best, and I'll just hope for the best. He's someone who says, look, you've entered the chair. As you enter the chair, already on your table are set benchmarks against which I'm going to measure your performance. This is not some sort of abstract hope that somebody's going to perform. Already before this administration took office, many Nigerians may not be familiar with this. After His Excellency Mr. President won the election, in the interim period between the time he won the election and the time he was sworn in, he had actually set up a series of reform committees across all the sectors and basically looked at exactly what His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari had achieved and said, this is what we want to do to build on these achievements, and I'm talking in specific detailed terms within these sectors.
Now, I actually have on the telephone Moses Adebayo, who is a social affairs commentator, a political analyst, as well as a political enthusiast. Moses Adebayo, good afternoon. Welcome to the World News at 12 right here on VOP 90.3 FM.
My pleasure speaking with you again, Mr.
All right, thank you. So, Moses, you've heard what the president said. You've heard what the president's spokesperson has said during Gulali. Now, he emphasized that the president is somebody who says what he does. He categorically described President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's feat in Lagos, saying that could be replicated at the federal level. But then we have seen the challenges already on ground, the policies and how they have kicked off. The president has said he cannot continue the debt servicing measure. He's saying literally that there is no money to continue to service debts, recurrent expenditures, recurrent debts consistently, and then the country is being impoverished. The president has also promised that he was going to try to take Nigeria to another height of economic boom. But Nigerians are experiencing a shortfall at the moment, and they seem to be discouraged. Do you believe all that Ajurin Gulali just said and what the president also talked about at the NBA conference yesterday?
Talk can be cheap, but then performance is key, very, very key. It's incumbent on them to give us sound bites, but also to give us work bites, if there's anything like that. They must back their words with action. At the risk of sounding simplistic, I don't think it will take the same sense of thinking to govern Lagos and think you can easily replicate that on a larger scale. Lagos is just a state with, of course, a well-respected state, economic hub of the country, with 20 local governments and 37 local, council development areas. Nigeria has 774 local governments, 36 states. Abuja is the federal capital territory, and on and on. So if anyone thinks, what we did in Lagos, because we had some achievements in Lagos, I can't deny that, will easily be replicated on a national scale. In that sense, you have a saying. If just 80-something days in office, we can tell of how complicated things have become. Sometimes, a minister once said, I think the last 2 terms, that was fashionable, that it could take just 6 months to fix power. But when he got there, he knew better. Even before him, Bola again said something similar, that, it's an uncertain government, that we will not get power done in less than 3 months or 6 months, he claimed also. But when he got there, he knew that to say it's one thing, to do it another thing. So it is very easy to give promises, rhetoric, and Baba flamboyance, as Ajiri is known for. But to get this done, we take other factors of cooperation at state levels, at local government levels, because sometimes it's so quick to put all the blame at the feet of the central. Rightfully so, after all, they are the federal government. But what over the federation units? What is some of the federation that are not cooperating? Because Nigeria is not just Nigeria because it is the federal state. No, they are federation units. So how cooperative, how collaborative are all these other federation, the local government areas too? If they come together, then whatever they have as policies, as a thought, as laws will happen. If
All
they
right.
don't have the cooperation of all these other federation units, nothing will happen.
All right,
it should-
Moses,
it should-
the president has actually said that Nigerians should hold their governors accountable. He literally said that they should not vote in any individual that would not deliver when it comes to the dividends of democracy. You do know that the subsidy palliative that has been distributed across the states, Nigerians have actually groaned. I don't know if you've been able to see what the sharing formula is like, or how Nigerians have been getting their own share of the subsidy. Then questions have arisen. Well, how long will this palliative that is being disbursed, keep the hunger at bay if we have poverty at an increasing level? Also, we have another politician, Badamosi, who is saying that the tribunal could either rescue Nigeria from the All Progressives Congress or push the nation into chaos. Now, one would say that some words are not words that should be used now, considering the slim, the slim approach to, or would I say the repercussion of what transpired after the elections, where some Nigerians were not happy as to how it was conducted. And so making heated comments, some persons would say it's not the right call at this time, rather to encourage Nigerians to be hopeful towards what the judges at the election tribunal would say. But considering this current administration and how it has kicked off, do you think that what Badamosi is saying as to the tribunal giving a judgment could be deliberate as to, the clamor of all eyes on the judiciary? Could it also be that Nigerians are not being patient to see how some of these policies that have been put on the ground by the president, they're not being patient to see it?
Their positions, their postures, with little or no pictures at all. And the reasons are obvious. We can't afford to prejudice this particular issue. It's because 16th of September is not too far from now. You'll get their verdict, and there is always a chance to appeal if it doesn't go your way. So for the chance to just not go reckless this time around, I keep saying we can't afford to go the way of Rwanda. No! Rwanda happened in 1994 when millions of lives were lost in less than a month because some people were careless on the radio station. It's as simple as that. And just because some people were having their careless flippant, conversation on radio, it triggered what's not, and millions of lives were lost untold. So we should not, by any means, listen to some of these guys. Let the judiciary do what is appropriate. We are Nigerians at the end of the day. Look, if the verdict of INEC on 725 is upturned, whoever is going to occupy the office will be a Nigerian, not the police. If Tinubu remains in office by virtue of the verdict from the tribunal of the Supreme Court, he is a Nigerian. So we should put this as our first foot. Other things are secondary. If Nigeria feels to exist, then what is the benefit? So
All right.
Please keep from making careless, reckless statements.
All right.
Concerning the first question, as in the president, can I get a question? Because this particular question of Badamosi decided the other thing.
Yes. What did you say?
I think you were asking a question.
Ask the question about the policy of this administration. Do you think Nigerians are impatient to let it kick off? With how they feel, the fuel subsidy removal, the drastic measure, the non-alternative. There was no alternative available for them to cope with it. But do you think that if they are patient, possibly in the long run, in the next 1 year or two, something viable will turn out? Or do you think the president should do what they call a policy overhaul?
Okay, now for me, the manner of this palliative is ludicrous. In fact, most of the governors, people don't trust them. Just 3 years down the line, COVID and how they responded, with how they hoarded the palliative. So who believes them now? The government should rather make it institutional. I think if at all they will put palliative, which I don't even want to use, intervention as Alaki called it then, they should make it institutional. Why can't they look at transport? Why can't they look at food and other aspects that are germane to our national life daily? These are these very paltry, insulting 5,000 or 5 billion for one set. Oh, 5 billion really is like Lagos. The Lagos that is over 20 million. If you do the math, another person may just get barely 1,000, and that is nothing. What is 1,500? Someone like you. I can imagine what else I spend on an average day because you're a quality lady and you live in Lagos. So what would that do for you? So they should just get within this nonsensical idea. It's irritating and at the same time insulting. We can't judge a 4-year government if he stays after the verdict
Okay.
in 3 months.
All right.
Not up to 100 days.
All right,
So,
we're running out of time, but I want to read this particular story and I need your response to it. Now, ahead of the presentation of judgment by the Presidential Election Tribunal in the petitions filed by opposition candidates in February 25, 2023 election, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has actually suffered another legal blow. Now, a circuit court of Cook County, Illinois County in the United States dismissed a lawsuit filed by the People's Democratic Party's candidate to get access to President Bola Tinubu's confidential educational records at the Chicago State University. Now, according to the circuit court papers, which was made available yesterday, Justice J. Hennigan dismissed the case without prejudice. Now, in the judgment, he said the petitioner's subpoena in this case is withdrawn, and thus Chicago State University will not be deposed pursuant to the subpoena in this case. Also, he ruled that the case is dismissed without prejudice and resolves all matters pending before the court. Now, Atiku and his cohorts had often claimed that President Tinubu did not attend Chicago State University in a bid to disqualify his candidature. Meanwhile, a leading Chicago State official has again confirmed that the president is a long-time and distinguished alumnus of the university. In an affidavit, the Registrar of Chicago State University, Caleb Westberg, deposed that Bola Ahmed Tinubu graduated and was awarded a degree by Chicago State University on June 22, 1979. All right, now we're back again. Apparently, this lawsuit filed by Atiku to get the records of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at this particular Chicago State University has been quite a mental jigsaw, trying to comprehend what this whole quagmire is about concerning his certification. But the question is this: why is it a very hard puzzle to solve? If you have it, why not tender it? If you don't have it, why declare that you have it?
you know, I think sometimes we overflow certain issues.
Okay.
Vice President Atiku realized that at the end of all things, it's still the Nigerian state that will suffer losses if anything goes. This issue was thrashed as soon as Pakistan and Lagos State, now President Nigeria, was running for a second time. The opposition party did due diligence. They approached the consulate, they approached the Chicago State University, and every opening they can access, they did. And they came back with the verdict that he was a student of that school. He graduated with what do they call it? This some clause or whatever they call it. You know, the American one is different from ours. Yeah, they came back with that verdict, and that was why he was eligible to run for the second term. Now, if this issue was trashed, then is there any new thing that happened in between 2003 and 2023? Probably that's the angle they are seeing from. But if it is just to confirm whether he wants to that school, he will tell you why you are asking with the respect of the question I'm asking now, that they picked him up from that school, officials from the school, saying that he attended the school. He was the son of their school.
Yeah, but it took quite a while. For example, initially there was a problem. The president had said the school's clerk made an error, right? They tendered him as a female instead of a male, and they possibly put the wrong date. Now we're back again to another situation, or rather an update on that particular certification, where they said there was no classmate of that time. Now some critics have said there should be a yearbook. Every school, especially schools abroad, usually have a yearbook of students who graduated from a particular year or from a particular session that was not found. So a couple of persons are asking what the authentication of that statement of his by attending the school. But the thing is this, I think the question is, as a public servant, right, any detail about you, Nigerians are curious. They want to know about you. They want to know what you say you are. They want to know what you claim that you are. About this particular certification, why is there an issue? Why is it coming up now? I mean, was this issue not something that could have been brought up possibly during the campaign or immediately after the elections? And in what way will this the proof of this certification yield at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal? Isn't it too late already, considering the fact that we're expecting the judges to give their conclusion or tell us what the update is by September 16?
Now, again, the ball is clearly in the court of the judiciary. That is why, to an extent, I agree with the slogan that dominated for some time now, all eyes on the judiciary. Now, it could mean so many things. Listen, it's about Nigeria now. I remember responding to Ijeoma a few days back.
Yes.
That this time around, it's no longer just another citizen. Whatever insults Tinubu now, insults the whole of Nigeria, take it or leave it. So if we go about, it's a political minefield. Oh yes, If you can't take the get out of the kitchen, he found himself in that state, so he must take all the steps and the hazard, inherent in being in office. But I say this again. We can't afford to keep washing our dirty linen before the world.
Okay.
This is an international thing. Fine. The tribunal will do their best. It could go high something. It could be that, there are some infractions, it's not political. Let it be that it is from within.
Okay.
If you cut your nose to spite your face, you are the one that will look on you. If we try to defend our own before the world, it will not affect only him alone. It will affect even the Atiku, the Obis, and every Nigerian. So let us spread culture together. It's an international issue. Let the tribunal come out with that. Nigeria still must remain. That is paramount to me.
All right. Thank you, Moses Adebayo. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution on the World News at 12. I sincerely do appreciate it.
You sound as much as you look. Gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Oh, good afternoon, rather. Okay. In order for us to wrap up this final news story, says that members under the aegis of Social Rehabilitation Group have said the ongoing attempts by the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate in this year's general election, Alhaji Atiku to find holes in the certificate of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is an exercise in futility. In a statement yesterday, SRG's convener and national coordinator, Dr. Marindote Oludare, regretted that Atiku, the veteran presidential candidate, who unfortunately will never be president, has begun yet another one of his many ill-fated surgeons into the abyss of absurdity and will lead him only to being served another content. Oludare, Nigerian-born US-based medical doctor, averred that Atiku and his acolytes are trying to raise doubts about the certificate of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a certificate that the issuing institution is in court defending. To wrap up the world news at 12, here again are the top stories. You heard that government efforts failing as food imports rise 122%, deficit hits 4.9 trillion naira. Also, President Tinubu to hold FEC meeting today. Activists knock Atiku over Chicago State varsity subpoena. And that is a wrap on the world news at 12 right here on